Well, YouTube, it's the Utopian again. Here with a sledding story. We had a little bit of snow yesterday, not much. And it pretty much melted right off, but tomorrow or Thursday we'll probably have, maybe 2 or 3 inches, they say. It's getting pretty chilly, so we'll see. Anyway, I watched a video of Amy's, and she told a funny Christmas story. She said we should all bring out some Christmas stories too, and good idea. Gotta get my pipe puffing good here. Don't make matches like they used to. Do they, John? Anyway, the story happened when I was about 10 years old. It happened in the town where I was raised, Eltopia, Washington. That's how I get the name Utopian. It said when they named the town that there'd be hell to pay, and it came out El to pay, and later got softened to Eltopia. So you remember the old show The Virginian? Well, I'm the Utopian. Anyway, Eltopia was built on a hillside, and just a little ways from my house and up above there was an old access road to the school that used to be on top of the hill. And this road came down through a deep cut, just straight down, just a gravel road. And it emptied out onto a main highway. And then after the highway, it went down the hill again on a paved street. Well, the road was there so the school buses could come, turn off the highway and just go right straight up to the school. But when the district closed the school down, the county didn't want the maintenance of that road, so they just took it where it T-boned into the county highway. And just before that, they put about 8 or 9 foot of dirt, just piled it up there, big berm, to block the road off. That way they wouldn't have to worry about it. Wouldn't have to worry about anybody coming down the hill or up the hill, causing an accident coming out on that highway, because it was kind of a blind corner coming around the highway. And the road wasn't good for anything except this one year it made a real good sledding hill. In fact, we nicknamed it Suicide Hill. As I said, I was about 10 years old. And my friends and I had been going down Suicide Hill all week. We had it packed in pretty well. And you must remember that this was in a deep cut. this road. So the snow that fell in there didn't get any wind, didn't get much sunlight. So the snow and ice in there just froze on that road. And if you hit it just right, you could really go flying down that hill. And the problem is, though, as soon as you got to the bottom or the end of that road, you went right straight up that 8 or 9 foot bank of dirt and then out across. And that's what we had been trying to do all week, get up enough momentum to jump that berm. Hadn't done it yet. Well, one day I was up there all by myself. And the conditions were just right. And I thought, I'm going to try this. I laid down on that sled and I took off. And I went down that hill just flying. And I went right up that 8 foot berm, just boom, like a rocket. Now there's a problem with this. You see the highway that I told you about that came across and they T-boned on each other? Well, that highway was very slick. Always was in the wintertime. And any cars that were going up or down this highway would have no chance to see anybody sledding down this hill because it was all in a real deep cut. They wouldn't see them until popped over the top of that mound of earth. And of course the Sledee, he wouldn't see anything either until he popped over the mound of earth. Well, anyway, we're going down the hill. I hit that berm, take off, launch into outer space. I'm going up and out, and there's a car coming down the highway. And he caught sight of me about the time I got airborne because he hit his brakes and started to fishtail. Fortunately, he wasn't going too fast. And I imagine he was thinking to himself, oh, look at that. There's a kid on a flying sled. You don't see that too often. I know what I was thinking. I was thinking, oh no, I'm going to hit the car. Probably the only time I'll see that. So there I am, suspended in space. Little 10-year-old kid flying through the air, going down to almost certain doom. And I never was that good in mathematics. I was only 10 years old. But as I was in the air, things flashed through my mind. I mean, just boom. And it was strange because my mind went through about 3 years of college level advanced mathematics. Geometry and trigonometry and astronomy and all those ometries just boom, flew through my mind. And all of a sudden, I could see what was going to happen. I could see angles and tangents and triangles and this and that and the other thing and up and down and back and forth. And I knew that if I kept going the way I was, and the car kept going the way he was, we were most likely going to meet, I would probably land on his hood or windshield. And not the best way to say howdy do to somebody you don't know. Anyway, I saw what was going to happen. Going to go down. And I thought to myself, even if I am lucky enough to catch a good tailwind and go over the car and over the highway, I would still come down on 5th Street, which was paved and even slicker. 5th Street went straight downhill for about 2.5 blocks. And it was steep. People just avoided it during the wintertime. They just drove around. If we have to put a couple extra miles on the car, we don't care. Not going up and down that street. And the street would go straight down. And there was a spring of water coming up on the north side of it that went down for about a block, and then it took a culvert under the road and went down on the other side for about another half a block. So even if I had jumped the car and jumped the highway, I would have hit 5th Street. I would have had to stay dead straight right down that hill. Otherwise, I would have been frozen like a popsicle in the creek. And then, if I was able to keep it straight going down that hill, when I got to the bottom of the hill, I would have to contend with a metal storage shed, and right next to it, a big metal fertilizer elevator. And on top of all that, if I was lucky enough to get through that, I knew I couldn't stop. If I could get between those obstacles, I would launch up into the air again just a little bit and fly out across the main line or the Northern Pacific Railroad on its way to Spokane. Yep. Just take right off. And that all flashed in my mind. All those scenarios, just like that, just flashed in my mind. And as I'm there in outer space, looking at the situation, looking at the car coming, little guys that are working in my head start pounding on the side of my head and they start saying to me, "Get off the sled, you idiot, get off the sled." And I thought to myself, well, maybe I should get off the sled. Because if I keep going, this is going to be bad. So I rolled off to the side of the sled and went down into about a 4-foot snowdrift. Just woof. You've seen the cartoons with Coyote and the Roadrunner when the coyote flies off the edge of the cliff and then he just falls down and all of a sudden, boof, you see a puff of dirt and he's buried himself about 4 feet in the desert, and you just see this outline of him. Well, that's what it was like in the snow. And I went right down, whoom, in the snowdrift. But I kept a hold of the tow rope for the sled. And when it got to the end of the rope, I just yanked it down and I went through the snow. The sled just sort of followed me and went right straight down by my head with its back runners sticking out, just sticking straight up. And I thought to myself, well, that's rather convenient, because now they'll have a marker to find my frozen carcass when the spring thaw comes. And anyway, I was buried in the snow. Sled was marking my place. And I slowly crawled up out of the snow and looked around. Looked like a soldier coming out of a foxhole after a battle. Is it over? Is it over? And the car was still going like this. He was going on down the highway. Poor guy. Must have been a pants scraping moment for him later on. Anyway, I looked up around and I pulled myself out of the snow. Pulled myself up out of the snow and said, wow, I could have been killed. That was fun, I'm going to do it again. And I ran up the hill. And that's my story, sledding on Suicide Hill. This is the Eltopian. See you down the road.